You've been thrown into the Stone Age. No cities, no farms, no language beyond grunts, just rocks, trees, animals, and an endless sky. Genuinely beautiful for about 3 days. On the 4th day, you realize you're starving. Not just hungry, starving. And the only thing your brain can think about is a cheeseburger, a proper one. Soft bun, juicy meat, melted cheese, crispy lettuce, a slice of tomato, salt, maybe some onion. You look around, rocks, grass, a mammoth in the distance. You need to build a burger from scratch. Before you do anything, let's understand what a burger actually is. Not as food, as technology, because a cheeseburger is not simple. A cheeseburger is one of the most technologically complex objects in human history. Think about it. A bun requires agriculture. Someone had to figure out how to plant seeds, harvest grain, grind it into flour, mix it with water, and bake it with heat. That alone took humanity thousands of years to develop. Cheese requires animal domestication. Someone had to catch a wild animal, keep it alive, convince it not to kill them, milk it, and then accidentally discover that milk left in a stomach-lining bag turns into something solid and delicious. That's another few thousand years. Meat requires hunting, butchering, and controlled fire. Lettuce and tomato require knowing which plants are edible and which will kill you. Salt requires either mining or evaporating seawater. Every single layer of a cheeseburger represents a different era of human civilization. You're not making lunch. You're speed-running 10,000 years of human progress. Let's start from the bottom. The meat. This is the easiest part because the Stone Age is basically designed for it. You need to kill an animal. The Stone Age has plenty. Deer, bison, wild boar, rabbits. The problem is you're a slow, weak, clawless human competing against animals that are faster, stronger, and often have horns or tusks. But you have 2 advantages no other animal has: a brain that can plan ahead, and a shoulder joint that can throw things. Seriously, humans are the best throwers in the entire animal kingdom. Our shoulder joint rotates in a way that lets us store elastic energy and release it explosively. No other primate can throw with accuracy and force like a human. This is why spears work. This is why we survived. You make a spear. A straight branch sharpened at one end with a rock. Better yet, chip a piece of flint into a sharp point and tie it to the branch with plant fibers or animal sinew. Flint fractures in a way that creates edges sharper than modern surgical steel. Stone Age humans figured this out hundreds of thousands of years ago. Now you hunt. Ideally not a mammoth. Something smaller, a deer. You track it, get within throwing range, and use your one evolutionary superpower. You throw. You have meat. But raw meat is tough, chewy, and full of bacteria that will destroy your stomach. You need fire. Fire. The most important technology humans ever developed, and in the Stone Age, the most terrifying. Here's how fire works at a fundamental level. Every material has an ignition temperature, the point at which it starts a chemical reaction with oxygen in the air. Below that temperature, nothing happens. Above it, combustion. The material breaks apart, combines with oxygen, releases heat and light. That released heat raises the temperature of nearby material above its ignition point, which starts burning too. Chain reaction, that's fire. 2 ways to make fire in the Stone Age: friction and sparks. Friction is the Hollywood method, rubbing 2 sticks together. It works, but it's brutally difficult. You take a flat piece of dry wood and a straight stick. You spin the stick against the flat piece as fast as possible using your palms or a bow drill mechanism. The friction generates heat. Wood dust accumulates in the notch. Eventually, after 10 to 20 minutes of exhausting work, the dust reaches ignition temperature and starts glowing. You transfer this tiny ember to a bundle of dry grass and gently blow. The grass catches fire. Sparks are faster. You strike a piece of flint against iron pyrite, a mineral that's common in many rock formations. The impact shears off tiny pieces of iron that are so hot from the friction of the strike that they ignite spontaneously in air. These sparks land on dry tinder, shredded bark, dried mushroom, cattail fluff, and start a fire. Stone Age humans used both methods. Evidence of controlled fire goes back at least 400,000 years. Some researchers argue over 1 million. Now you cook the meat. Put it on a hot flat rock next to the fire or hold it over flames on a stick. The heat does 2 critical things. It kills bacteria and parasites, making the meat safe to eat, and it breaks down tough protein fibers, making the meat softer and easier to chew and digest. Cooked meat gives you dramatically more calories than raw meat for the same amount of chewing effort. Some anthropologists argue that cooking is literally what made us human. The extra calories fueled brain growth that separated us from other primates. You have a cooked patty. Layer 1 complete. Now the bun, and this is where everything gets complicated. A bun is bread. Bread requires flour. Flour requires grain. Grain requires agriculture. Agriculture doesn't exist yet. You're in the Stone Age. Farming won't be invented for thousands of years, but wild grain exists. Wheat, barley, and other grasses grow naturally across many parts of the world. The seeds are small, hard, and encased in tough husks. Nobody eats them because processing them is incredibly labor-intensive compared to just picking fruit or hunting meat. You know something they don't. You know those tiny seeds contain starch, long chains of sugar molecules packed together, that when ground and mixed with water and heated become soft, filling, and delicious. You gather wild grain, handfuls of wheat or barley seeds from wild grasses. You need to remove the husks, the hard outer shells. You put the seeds on a flat rock and crush them with another rock, repeatedly. This is called milling. It's exhausting, but it works. You separate the broken husks by tossing the crushed grain in the air. The light husks blow away. The heavier flour falls back down. This is called winnowing. Now you have crude flour. Not white, not fine, full of grit and bits of husk, but flour. Mix it with water. You get a sticky paste, dough. Now here's where it gets interesting. Modern bread rises because of yeast. Tiny fungi that eat sugar in the flour and produce carbon dioxide gas. The gas bubbles get trapped in the dough and make it puff up. Without yeast, you get flatbread. Dense, hard, but perfectly functional as a bun. You can actually get wild yeast. It's floating in the air everywhere. If you leave wet dough sitting out for a day or two, wild yeast will land on it, start eating the sugars, and the dough will begin to rise on its own. This is how sourdough was discovered. By accident. Someone left dough out too long and it puffed up. You shape your dough into 2 round flat pieces. You place them on a hot flat rock next to the fire. The heat cooks the starch, the long sugar chains break apart and recombine into a firm structure. The outside browns and crisps. The inside becomes soft. You have buns. Layer 2 complete. Now cheese. And this is genuinely insane to make in the Stone Age. Cheese requires milk. Milk requires a lactating animal. In the Stone Age, the only way to get milk is to find a wild animal that's currently nursing. A wild goat, a wild sheep, a wild cow. And milk it without getting killed. This sounds impossible. But here's the thing. Young animals that lose their mother sometimes bond with humans. Stone Age humans definitely kept orphaned animals alive. It's a small step from keeping a baby goat alive to milking its mother. Let's say you manage to get milk. Fresh, warm, straight from the animal. Now what? Milk is liquid. Cheese is solid. How does liquid become solid? Milk contains proteins called caseins suspended in water. Normally, these proteins float around and repel each other. That's why milk is liquid. But if you add acid, the proteins clump together. They form solid clumps called curds. The remaining liquid is called whey. Where do you get acid in the Stone Age? Everywhere. Lemon juice, vinegar from fermented fruit, even the acid in an animal's stomach. In fact, the original discovery of cheese was almost certainly accidental. Someone stored milk in a bag made from a calf's stomach. The stomach lining contains an enzyme called rennet that causes milk to curdle. They opened the bag expecting milk and found solid white clumps instead. You take your milk and add acid, juice from wild sour berries or a piece of stomach lining from your hunt. The milk separates into curds and whey. You strain out the curds through a woven grass filter. Press the curds together. You have fresh cheese. It's not aged cheddar. It's not mozzarella. It's something closer to paneer or fresh farmer's cheese. Mild, soft, slightly sour, but it's cheese. Layer 3 complete. Vegetables. This is the fastest part. Lettuce. Wild lettuce grows across Europe and Asia. It's been foraged for tens of thousands of years. The leaves are slightly bitter compared to modern cultivated lettuce, but perfectly edible. You just pick them. Onion. Wild onions grow almost everywhere in the northern hemisphere. Humans have been eating them since long before recorded history. The smell is unmistakable. Pull them from the ground, peel the outer layer. Tomato is a problem. Tomatoes are native to South America. If you're in the Stone Age in Europe, Asia, or Africa, there are no tomatoes. They don't arrive in the Eastern Hemisphere until after Columbus in the 1490s. You either skip the tomato or substitute with a wild berry, or just accept the loss. Salt. The invisible ingredient that makes everything else taste like food instead of cardboard. Salt is sodium chloride, NaCl. Your body needs it to function. Every cell in your body uses sodium to transmit nerve signals and regulate water balance. Without salt, you die. This is why food without salt tastes wrong. Your body is literally telling you something is missing. In the Stone Age, you have 2 sources. If you're near the ocean, seawater. You boil seawater in a hollowed-out rock or a waterproof basket lined with clay. the water evaporates. White crystals remain. Salt. If you're inland, salt licks. Natural mineral deposits where salt seeps to the surface. Animals know where they are. That's why they're called licks. Animals literally lick the rocks. Follow the animals. Find the salt. You crush the salt crystals between two rocks into fine powder. Layer 5 complete. So here's what you have. 2 crude stone-ground flatbread buns slightly charred from the fire. A cooked deer meat patty seasoned with crushed salt. Fresh curds of cheese from wild goat milk. Wild lettuce leaves. A few rings of wild onion. You stack them. Bottom bun. Meat. Cheese on top of the hot meat so it softens slightly. Lettuce, onion, top bun. You hold it in both hands. You look around. Nothing but wilderness in every direction. No restaurants, no delivery apps, no agriculture, no civilization, no written language. You just built a cheeseburger from absolute zero. Every ingredient processed by hand. Every technology invented on the spot. You take a bite. It's not McDonald's. The bun is dense and gritty. The meat is gamey. The cheese is bland. There's no ketchup. No pickles. No tomato. But it's a cheeseburger. In the Stone Age. Made entirely from scratch. A nearby caveman watches you eat. He's been chewing raw roots all day. He's never seen anyone stack food like this. He's never tasted cooked meat with salt and cheese. You hand him the rest. He takes a bite. Chews slowly. His eyes go wide. He doesn't have words for what just happened. Neither did you the first time you had one. Some things are worth inventing civilization for.